Hello, hello, can you hear us?
Okay, ready. Let's start again because we had this trouble. So we were saying that the hardware architecture of XAtlas is composed by WSN, that is the host hosting the main data of the system. Of course, the data can be exchanged with the third-party applications. We have the workstations of operators which manage the data, all the data about the system, and can have a view of the functioning of the system, and devices which can be of two types. Those managed directly by field managers, which are here. Can you see my mouse? I hope yes. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So here we have terminals on RS-45, the field bus group of terminals, which can be composed in order to make door controllers, gate controllers. And here on the last line, you have terminals that can work offline. So the field manager is the key component of distributed systems. You may have simple systems without physical field managers. A virtual field manager is always present in the main station. And you can have terminals like trucks, super trucks, super max, and X1, X2 that can also work on in an offline situation, while the solutions composed by field devices. The devices are the components made to work directly under control of field manager, really have slave devices of the physical field manager units. So this is about the entities, the other entities managed in the basic module of XAtlas. The purpose of these entities is to manage gates. And of course, gates, here we can see a few samples of the simplest door, where usually you have readers. You have, of course, the output line to control the lock. You have the status sensor of the door, and you can have internal readers or internal buttons to release the exit. We have a different solution. We can see that it's possible to approach even the simplest kind of gate like this door in different ways according to the type of readers. If you have third-party readers which can be interfaced with specific modules, or you can have the most integrated solution with X1, X2 that could be the single manager of a door, of a gate, directly connecting the activation of the lock or the sensor, or more securely, like in this picture, with using a slave I/O module in the secure zone, which is the one that really controls the physical I/O with the gate. In general, you have other situations. Of course, you can have gates and turnstiles, gates and barriers of a different type. We have the visitors management station. This is an important part that we are going to see today. And of course, parking kind of gates that are, from a logical point of view, very similar to the access control gates for people. So let's view more in detail what we have under the main entities that we're speaking. So who are what those entities which generate transactions in our system? And we will see that we have a different kind of individuals, users, cards. We will see why cards. visitor vehicles and operators. The difference between operators and users are the operators are the workstation operators, so the people who can manage the system. This is a very important part because the properties of the operators can be fully defined in order to give to each operator a limited visibility of the system, visibility or ability to operate on the system according to the company structure, company rules, and their function within the company. About the where concept in XAtlas, we have many kind of where. We can have companies, we have internal and external companies. For the companies, you can have locations and departments. You have sites, and under sites you have areas. Then there are zones and gates plus terminals. That is what we have just had a first look, which are the real entities on which we have some control. So while the previous ones, companies, location, department, sites, areas, and layers, that is another attribute that can be given to the people and to the devices. Layers can be freely defined according to your needs. All these are properties used to filter, to select, and to give a segregation. Let's say we use this word segregation. Those are really something on which we have control. Capacity control is about the fact that anti-passback is applied, so you cannot enter in a zone if you are already there, or you cannot exit the zone if you are not already there. About you can have properties about zones, about the number of people that can be present at the same time in the zone, the maximum amount of time that people can stay in a zone. There is also the minimum quantity of people that should stay in a zone. For some cases, it is needed to control that people are not alone in a zone. So this is all about the control, and you can have events when the zone becomes empty. So all of these properties and events are about the capacity, while the authorizations, so the ability to enter or not enter in a zone, is not given to the zones, but to each gate or terminals which control the access to that zone. So authorizations are given to gates and terminals, while capacity properties are controlled to zones. We will see better this part. Then, of course, we have the when part, that is that we need to create entities to control when people can access zones. And we have the usual time models and periods and calendars. And then we have the objects of the systems. We have the system components. We already seen the host and the field managers. So the what part of the physical system, we have events. So why transactions are things that happen to the users, to the people. Events are things that happen to physical entities. I would like at this point to have a first view of the program. One is running, and this is a remote view of the airport of Bologna. here we have a view of the gates with all the terminals. Yes.
I cannot see the.
Oh, sorry. I have to move this here.
Okay. Can
Yes.
you see the layout? Now Rico is showing you live XAtlas, so you should visualize the map of the building of the airport of Bologna. I can see it on my screen. Okay. Yes, it is visible. Okay. Thank you for your confirmation. We can go on then.
So we will use the airport just to have some data, and we have our internal system here that it is with all the features, but I don't have many entities and data, so we can use it to practice and to do some things. The application is very deep in its all parts, and the navigation is easier if we understand that these tabs that we have here on this line. And here we have a little more tabs than those of the basic module that we are going to present, that is the access control and reception. In addition, here we have display and alarms, which are typical of the security module. So in a very basic access control system, you don't have these two items, and the reception is the optional module that we have in this installation. I told you about the configuration. The configuration is really hierarchical, as you have seen in the pictures. So you always have at least one WSM, that is the machine which holds the database, and then you have one or more FMs, field managers, which are the entities which receive the data, everything about user data and authorization tables, in order for the system to work even if there is no direct connection to the WSM. And then under the FM, the local one in this case, so the virtual one running on the same computer or WSM, you can have terminals. Here you have 3 terminals, these ones, or gates. Here you have one gate, and a gate is made of entities that you create composed by field devices. Let me just
Rico, can you, because from my experience, I can see that still who is not really proposing access control every day, there is still confusion between a terminal and a reader. Can you please briefly explain the difference?
Well, okay. Thank you for the very easy question. You know, the terminal is the complex entity which manages the gate, or in time and attendance could be just to collect the identification of a person at that point at a given time. So it has a communication, a higher level communication channel usually to the system, and that is through Ethernet nowadays, or it could be via modem or things like that. And it has a local decision capability and the ability to store the transactions. While the reader that we are going to, in this example, I can create a field device reader. If I compose, the reader is just the reading head. Let me show here in this example. This is the reader. It's just, let's say, a transceiver, we could say, that is used to get the card code and pass immediately to the entity, the controller, can be a physical controller or the terminal, which will consider the code. It will translate and extract useful, more specific data, and will take the decision to accept and to open the door if the purpose is to open the gate. So really there is a difference in the value and in the intelligence capabilities of the devices.
Enrico, we have a question. Thank you for your explanation. Do terminals have secure communications and secure transaction storage?
Secure communication, yes, when we speak about encrypted communications, and yes, that happens between some terminals. The highest security is with this kind of solution, the solution based on field manager, and the RH45 gates. Here you have a connection that is on HTTPS. With terminals, you have an encrypted communication between supertruck terminals and the rest of the system. And with the X1, X2 terminals, at the moment, we have a proprietary secret protocol that is not extremely secure from the, let's say, encryption point of view. This about the communication. The other part was about
secure transaction storage.
Yes, if the question is about the possibility not to lose transactions or not to be extracted, all data inside the terminals is stored, protected by passwords, and if there is a need, in case of terminals able to work offline, you can extract data with removable memories like USB memories, again via a password. And in any case, if the terminal is broken and it collected some transactions, it is possible to open the terminal and remove an SD memory that can be present both in X1, X2 terminals and in supertruck terminals in order to transfer the data even if the terminal is no longer functioning. I don't know if this was the I don't understand. Oh, here I have a message about the connection to the airport. Okay, we will look later to get it again. I need to go back to the application. Here it is. So, under XAtlas, you create terminals according to the modularity of items that we have just seen in the presentation. Here, let me move this on this side. Oops.
Rico, there is another question. Would you like to reply it now, if possible? Otherwise, you'll tell us that it will reply can be postponed. How to start to configure all devices when there is a door which is controlled from a terminal and a slave board? I repeat, how I start to configure all devices when I have a door which is controlled from a terminal and a slave board. If it is not the case, we'll postpone the reply.
Mhm. Well, I thought at first it is about the question about the configuration of the operation of the gate.
I think the configuration.
So because of course whenever you create a new entity in this interface, then the terminal has to be present with its own address, and according to the authorizations given to that terminal, data are immediately transferred to that device. Let me show you the other entities that are part of the system. Let me do this. So you create terminals, and terminals, in order to enter a zone, needs to be part of an authorization. The authorization is the basic rule which allows users to enter a zone. Here we have this hierarchy, that is a traditional hierarchy of time periods, time models, and authorizations. You can define, of course, as many time periods as you like. Here we have the example of the 24-hour time period. Another one we defined about the afternoon, from 13 to 18, and the mornings from 7 to 12:30. These are the time periods which are used to compose the time models. We have always defined the time model always, that compose the time period 24 hours with all the days of the week. You can see that we have also holidays and special days. Holidays and special days are something that you can define on calendars. You always have at least one calendar, and you can, in a calendar, create holidays or special days as you prefer. And then, of course, these attributes of the days are used instead of the kind of the weekday that composes. Let me see. I have to save. There is something that is not moving. Okay, here we are. So always includes holidays and special days, and we have defined, for instance, working days, mornings, that is with the time zone mornings, and the days from Monday to Friday. Let's look at this. We can create time models which define the permission, will be used to define a permission with the three possibilities. That is, this time model will be used to allow entry only in zone or exit only from zones, or both action from a gate. Then we have the real item which allows to enter somewhere. We have a default authorization here, for example, that use the always time model, and the key point is that we give the authorization, we associate authorization to terminals. So in this example, we have that the default authorization is associated to these 4 terminals and not to a 5th that is called my terminal. That means who the users that will have this default authorization will be able to enter always in these 4 terminals. For instance, we have another authorization that still use the time model always, but as a terminal, has only 1 terminal selected. So that means who will have this authorization will be able to enter only on this terminal. An interesting fact is that it is possible to start an action. We will see what is an action whenever the possibility to pass through a gate is given using this authorization. A specific action could be started or could be activated. Actions is about closing doors, turning on lights, everything that can be physically connected to the system managed by XAtlas. Of course, you can create as many authorizations as you like. Now, these authorizations can be given to users or to cards. Let's see now what is a user. A user is, here we have a few users. A user, here you have a panel to select and to search in many ways in the database of users, and there are all these possible groups of properties and attributes for each user. Beside the normal typical things that you can expect for a user, that is name, surname, start and validity, that is the existence of the company of the user. You have, of course, the ability to catch the picture and to acquire the signature, and this can be performed by any workstation that has the devices to perform this operation. To each user, you give the authorizations, so you can give the authorization to the users through the selection of the authorization, of the existing authorization, of course, or you could give the authorization to the cards that the user will use. Of course, if you give the authorization to the user, those are always effective, and it is not needed to give the authorization to the cards.
Rico, there is a
Yes.
question. For what is the field profile? Which is the purpose of the field profile?
The profile is about operators. So here we have properties about users. Users are those entities, those individuals which will enter the system. So will have to be submitted to the authorizations in order to enter or exit zones. Then we have operators. If we go back to the system properties, we have an important part that is here under the last item, operators rights, which allow to define all the properties about the managers of the system. Managers are people that are we call operators in order to distinguish from users, and the stations are the PCs that are going to be used. Here we have a list of computer. In this moment, the computer that we are using is the one with the yellow icon. And for each workstation, you have properties, and you have devices. For instance, I can connect a biometric reader to this station. Profiles are the type of operators which can be created. You can have as many profiles as you like. We have at the beginning 2 predefined profiles, and the difference between profiles is about their ability to view or control the system. So here you can see that the administrator profile, that is the guy that can do everything, has the ability to do everything on all items of the system. So here, with these tabs and this preview of all panels and objects of the system, you can determine each profile what that kind of profile can do. So if it can just view some parts of the system, or can modify also some part of the system. And this is about everything, all the possible properties that you can give to users, to devices, to zones. We have this concept of segregation. Segregation is performed by a company. So if it is a multi-company system, you would have, here we have just a couple of companies defined. You have the site. Under a given company, you can have multiple sites, and you can have multiple layers. In this case, we don't have any layers defined, but you can define as many as you like. These are all criteria that you can create and invent in order to limit the possibility of profiles to view and to control the system. Then when you create operators, these are the single people. So operator L1 is one person. Probably this would be more properly the name of the person here. Of course, what you do is to give a profile. So we here, this operator L1, we gave the operator limited view kind of profile. Here you can see that beside the profile, each operator has many other attributes, of course, a password and policies about the passwords, and the possibility to have a default language that could be different for each operator. Again, the possibility of this operator, so not only at the profile level, but also specific for each operator, you can have other segregation properties. I create these changes. Let me go back to the system.
Can you hear me? I don't know if all of you know that a couple of years ago we equipped the access control in Bologna airport, which was rather complex because they have a lot of authorities and different organizations to be matched together in the same system, and we had to interface as well some existing applications that they had. And there are all the gates in the Bologna airport that are equipped with super trucks. And then other control doors. I think there are about 50 terminals, Supermax controllers, and RFID readers of different technologies, because they want to manage 5 different technologies, including biometric, because they didn't want to harmonize the reading technology. So each group, each organization kept their own badges, which are barcode in some cases, 125 kilohertz, MyFair, and then biometric. So there is a mixture of different, let's say, identities to be managed.
Yes, I'm going to have a watch at the users at the airport in order to show you that they give them the card. So here you and the authorization. So you can see that in general you create many authorizations and you can attribute to each user one or more authorizations. What is interesting here that is not used is the possibility to give temporary different sets of authorizations for a period. So here on the higher upper part of the page, you have the standardizations given to this user, and it is also possible to define for a period here an alternative set of authorizations still chosen for those applicable to this site. Okay. Let me go back to the system again, because an important part that we missed to give more information is about the events that can happen to the system. Here you can see that the system is composed of some field managers, and under each field manager, here in this case you have a number of terminals and also a field device, this is CFM, it is the power supply adapter. So the interesting part is that if you use the power supply adapter, you have information about the status of the power supply to the group of terminals managed, which power is managed by that device. They are all about the same. What is important is that for each physical entity of the system, it can be the WSM, the field managers, or the terminals, you always have this events tab. That is what can happen to that device and what will happen when that event will occur. So here you can see that for each one of these terminals you have any kind of a possible event, alarms about the anti-tamper, battery status, if it is full or closer to be empty, whenever you have communication failure conditions, if it goes emergency force. These are terms about the gates, or gates have the possibility to be forced not to go in emergency status. However, every kind of event predefined for a terminal can be recorded and can trigger actions. So one thing that you can do here you can see that they have defined, let me see, this number, it is possible to define any number of consequent event types according to the main situation. So if here the battery goes down, but battery power means it started to work on battery. That means the main supply went off. They decide that they want to send an email. This is the name that they gave to this event. In their system, they have created here under operators rights event types. You see, they have created 4 kind of events. 2 in order to send emails according to Axess or attendance. Axess and presenza is in Italian for time and attendance events. And other 2 kind of events if they want to activate a camera. So here you see when you define an event and you give a name, you have the possibility to send an SMS to a number of phones, to send emails. Here they are not using. In this case, here we have the case of the event, and in case this event will be triggered, we have 3 emails with the subject sent to these 3 addresses. And in addition, the possibility to pop up a camera view on the screen of some specific workstations. Okay. Let me go back to the presentation. So we have been speaking a little about the difference of modular gates, which are those entities controlled by the field managers with group of field devices connected to the RS-485 line. The big difference, the difference between gates controlled by a group of field devices while controlled by terminals is that the gates made of the field devices are more modular. You can connect as many readers units as you like on both sides for entry, for exit, and any number of physical input or output, and you can also have supervised inputs, that is inputs which have the possibility to understand if somebody is trying to tamper or short circuit them. Gates managed by terminals instead, let's say, are less flexible from the possibility to add readers. However, remember that all terminals have the ability to add at least a secondary reader. All terminals can have up to 2 slave Neomax boards, which are small boards with 1 relay, 2 relays and 2 inputs. And the biggest difference is the ability to work also offline. Of course, if a terminal works offline, you lose the possibility to react, to have the system reacting to events happening to the terminal, and you also lose the possibility to have events related to the zone. Zone controls, what we call the zone capacity. So if there is somebody staying too long, or too many people, or anti-passback, that is not fully supported, let's say, if terminals are used instead of gates, or better, it is not fully supported in case of offline conditions. If terminals can be always online, zone controls are always possible.
Hello, is
Okay.
that clear enough? I hope you can hear me without echo.
So here we have a small summary of the entities. Gates and terminals, we discussed little. Workstations are the PCs which are used to manage the system, and according to the operators, you have a different visibility of the system and different possibility to control the system. In any case, all operations performed by operators are logged, so there is a full auditing possibility of all changes in the data of the system performed by operators. What can happen to the physical events, we said, are generating events, and you can have any number of event types which can trigger SMS, emails, and camera pop-ups. We can have that according to events. It is possible to launch actions on emissions or actions in return. This is a very powerful feature. Let's first see what is an action, what can be an action from here. Under the logical resources, you create automatic actions, as many as you like. Here we have two actions. One is open main entrance, and what you do is here, it's a kind of small program. You can execute and you can perform tests on the condition of the entities of the system. And in this case, we had that in order to open the main entrance, we selected one device, supposing this is the device opening the main entrance. And here you have all the possible commands that you can give to that device, and open and conditional. So this open and conditional means that we are going to execute this command to that terminal. The commands that you can see here listed possible for this device are also directly accessible on each device control panel. So here we have the list of all terminals and gates, and for each entity of this type of the system, you have the first tab, that is the controls. So before configuration, you have the controls tab for each device, and in this control tab, you can see what is happening, recent events to this device, the current status, okay, I selected one that is not existing, and the list of commands possible to this kind of device. These are the same commands that you can select and put in any action that you can define. I anticipate something that could be on a successive presentation. If you have displays and you place a device on a display, like in this case, you have the terminal. If you click on the terminal, you get it open on its properties page, and you can select the commands from here. But you can also create buttons on any layout picture in order to directly execute the one of these commands. So if you go in edit mode on a panel like this, you can create any button, command button, So I have this button that is red, but I can change the color, and I can change the picture of the icon as I like. And when I will click on this, sorry. So you see, by clicking on this, I will directly execute one of the commands that are given to this. Actually, since this object is not reachable, I get an error. But this is to give you an idea that on these display panels, you have the possibility to control and to view the status of the system, because here you see for each device or entity, this decorator always gives the current status of the device. So on a graphical layout, you can put icons and commands related to show the status and to operate in a quick way on each object. And this is an additional feature of the security module, but you can do the same things directly on each device. Once you have defined actions, you can use these actions both when an event or a strange condition starts. You see, you have both the possibility to give an action in a mission. That is, for instance, if you select here, this would mean that we would send or open main entrance when it goes working on battery, and when it will be again on main supply, so the condition of working on battery disappears, stops, a different action will be executed. So this allows to realize that this is a system that really allows to implement even more commands than what is predefined. Because what is predefined about gates control is already a lot. Let's see what do we have under this terminal. So this is an X1 terminal definition. You have a lot of properties, of course. Basic properties about the flow control is specifying which zones you enter and you exit with this device. Here in gate settings, we have a huge library of kind of gates, and for each kind of gate, you have the specification in which way inputs and outputs of the terminal are used. So no gate, we have not so much. Let's say swing door. You see, I selected this kind of gate, swing door, and I have all the possible kind of inputs and outputs possible with this kind of gate. So there can be buttons to ask to enter or exit, or there can be, these are input sensors for the system. And of course, you have outputs in order to allow to enter, exit, or put the system in some kind of emergency or locked, unlocked situation status. For each of these predefined logical contacts, input outputs, you associate to one or, of course, the real physical. We have in this case that the electronics to configured as only one relay and two inputs, so we don't have a big choice of input-output devices. But if we connect to this device slave secondary Neomax boards, you have up to 6 inputs and 5 relays that can be used to manage complex gates. Security boot is another kind of complex gate that is predefined. In any case, if some special models of gates are not fully managed through what is defined in the library, it is always possible to use the actions that we have seen and define those small programs to add the activation of additional outputs and additional inputs. Okay.
Bologna Airport. Regarding the example of Bologna Airport, typically how many operators are working on the XAtlas? So how many? Apri il microfono.
Okay, this is something you can see directly on the system here. So these are all the operators of the system. They are about 30, and each one, as we said, are administrators or have different profiles. In this case, they defined a dozen of different profiles that are these ones. Consider that this is a typical installation of a multi-company system used by users of many companies, and here you can see all the companies which employees can work or can enter the system. They have, in XAtlas, we have the concept of companies and external companies. They have not used the external companies. The difference would be that external companies cannot have operators. So in practice, this is probably a simplified thing. It would be more appropriate because I don't think that all these companies are internal companies, and they think that operators could be from any of these companies, but this is to give you an idea of the structure of this installation. And an interesting part of the system is to be aware of the traffic and what is happening. The transactions panel of XAtlas is extremely powerful and flexible in order to give the view of what is happening. By default, when I enter here, I always have the possibility to view the current day from the midnight. So here, in chronological order, we have where operators tried to enter or to exit. Entry is enter or exit. And you have the possibility very quickly to have different views of, for instance, the previous week. This way I just select the previous week, and very quickly I can see the latest at the top are always the most recent ones, and you have buttons to view, for instance, transit not done. So I would like to see if last week there has been any attempt of access not allowed. Let's see. It is searching. Okay, so these are all attempts which have been failed for a reason. You see here, this Zanaria Roberto tried to enter, and it had no authorization to enter in that moment at that gate. Yeah.
Another question. Is it possible to give only the display mode to certain users?
Yes, I think that user means operators. Again, I see the difference. Users are those which will try to pass the gates, let's say. Operators are the users of the workstations. And yes, through profiles, that is what I showed you previously, because this, I can create profiles of users. Let's see here. You see, you can limit object, let's say applications, report system here, physical configuration view. Yeah. We have only view possibility for this. I wanted to show. Okay, then this is, for instance, you create the models, profiles, and you can disable the possibility to modify or to create new departments, and you can only give the possibility to view. So the way to limit and give the possibility to view only is to create an operator like I did in my system here. I think this was what I did here with this operator L1, which has the operator limited view. Yeah, actually, this limited view is different. Here I have disabled the possibility to view the configuration. So really, this operator will not see at all one of these tabs. But playing with these controls, you can create the profile in order to just view and not modify anything in the system. I think that this was the question about. Okay. Yes. Now, what I want to give you is another view of the powerful tools in order to what is happening now, and this is here. With this panel, it is possible to ask who is where and when. So here in the middle, it will appear in which zone each user here. This system is simple. This is still the airport. We have Bologna only as a site. We have 4 zones. In practice, they use only 2 series. It is the air side and the land side. And yeah, we can ask to see where people is now, current attendance, or we could ask to view any interval in the past. Let's first view. Now I click this, I'm selecting everything. One or more objects type zone here. Okay, so I have some totals here at the end. I can see that we have 411 people in the air side and 317 in the land side. These are the only type of operators. We don't have external visitors, vehicles, or participants to meetings. And this is now. As I told you, we could ask for any period in the past, so we could ask for the same in July. Just for curiosity, let's see, we have different numbers. And other options, yes, you see there were 317 and 296, so we have more people now present in the system than maybe this was a Sunday. And you can always also ask to view only people who stayed for the all, or if you say, for instance, like this, 3 hours, it means I want to see only the people who stayed in the zone for at least 3 hours. This is another possibility. So you see, the numbers are reduced because we are looking now only at the people who stayed in the air side or in the land side for at least 3 hours during this period. This is a kind of tool that allows, of course, you can then use in a selective way. We have used in a fully covered way, but the idea is that you can really check by zones. You can have the totals by companies and by size. Okay, that. Yeah.
There is another question. Can you please define a new terminal in the system from the start, as an example? What parameters must be predefined on terminals for successful definition?
This is very, very simple. I create what is currently the most common terminal that we create, which are electronic 2 terminals. And I need to give a name. Then I can try to save. Let's see what happens. So the system always asks to me to complete, and what is needed is a transaction type. Actually, I'm sorry, these are listed in Italian now because I started with this user in Italian, and that is here I can select if the transaction type is a kind of attendance or access control or a mixture of these two, and even the counting kind of access. I will use access and time attendance, and I know that I also have to define a card format for the basic reader. I try to exit. I know that is not enough. We all know that is not enough because we need to set something in the link settings that is about the address of this device. So I don't have a new device, but this is all that is needed. Look that I have not defined the entering each zone and exiting each zone in a system. Usually you will do that. It could be that it is for time attendance only, you do not define. However, I stopped here just to view. So this was the minimal set of the terminal. This terminal is an unknown status with this symbol that is the hex, because it is not enabled yet. So I have created a terminal, but this is not enabled. Until I click this, the system will not try really to contact this terminal and verify if it is present. Now you see I just saved it. Things are changing, and the system is trying to connect to the terminal, and it will fail because the terminal is not existing. But it will try for a while. So this is the minimum set of properties that you have to give to a terminal. Here I can see that we have biometric configuration. You have to declare our terminals have the option to add the biometric module, so it is a property that you assign to a terminal, and it is not a given model, at least not for H1X2 or SuperTrax terminals. What I've not been explaining to you yet is about, let's go back to the presentation, something that's here. Let's go here first. Cards and biometry. I deal together because biometry in practice is just about creating, introducing fingerprint templates which are associated to card codes. So fingerprints are associated to card codes. The enrollment of fingerprint templates can be done at the PC, or it can be on a terminal, at this time H1X2 terminals. So when you create new users, let's go back to the system. So whenever you create a new person, you give to the person a card, then you have the biometric panel. With the biometric panel, you associate, you enroll fingerprint templates, and they will be associated to the card code. The card code has to be already existing. This could be not done if this person, for instance, this guy has the right to enter on a SuperTrax. So it could be that he has the authorization to enter on an H1X2, like this. So if we give to this Fred Lewis the authorization, the default authorizations, which we have seen before allows to enter all these 4 terminals, then what happens? This user is loaded onto all these 4 terminals. And if one of these terminals is an H1X2 with the biometric reader, on that H1X2 you can enter the biometric enrollment panel on the terminal, and you will see a list with a menu of users that can enroll on that terminal. So all users that have the rights to access on that terminal will also have the possibility to enroll on that terminal. When you have enrolled on that terminal, the system XAtlas will also get the templates of all users and keep into XAtlas database, and will automatically redistribute the templates to other terminals for each users have the right to access. So you have an automatic distribution, and I can say with that within let's say half a minute, after you have enrolled on a PC or any terminal that allows to enroll, you also have the templates replicated onto the other terminals biometrics for which users have the rights to enter. Yes. One interesting concept about the cards is the possibility to be escort of another. Let's have a quick view of this property. Yeah, so cards are one of the entities which have rights and properties similar to users. Let me take one card. So you see, for each card, you have the possibility to give a type. By default, it is the user one, could be the code of a vehicle, could be for a card for visiting purposes only, could be for participant meetings. However, the most typical way is user, and you normally use the card clear code. Each card can have up to 3 different technologies, and according to each technology, the code of that card could be different. Here we have only one, and so the card clear code printed is not necessarily the same. Here you have the life cycle of the card, so start and end validity. This station is where it can be assigned to visitors if you wanted to manage this card for visitors. And a card, once created, is not immediately usable. It has to be enabled. It could be destroyed or lost. There are these additional properties for the end of life of the card. And you can have new editions of the card. Those two properties is what I wanted to show you. Escort required, escort capable. If a card has the escort required property, it means that at gates where the escort control is performed, with this card you cannot enter alone, but you also need the successive reading or the previous reading, this is another property of the gate, of another card which has the property of being escort capable. So this is a way to ensure that at given gates somebody cannot enter alone unless it is an escort capable guy. Okay. Cards as users has the possibility to have authorizations. Yeah, actually I don't have here because of the particular type of card. Let me save. Okay. So only once I've chosen a site of usability for a card, I can give the authorization to this card. So this is the alternative way to use cards with authorization associated to the card instead to the user, but it is limited to a site, while a user has access rights that can spawn more sites. Okay. Then the last big topic is reception. Reception, let's view at the presentation level the titles. Okay, yes, so what is typical of visitor reception is that a visitor, of course, has to visit one of the user-defined, and they can visit only users which have been enabled to be visitable. So that is a property of each user if it can receive visitors. It is possible to book visits in advance, so register visitors' data. Visitors have the need to give some data and many times documents, and the system will record visitors' data and documents. Then you will give access permissions, so if you like you can give a card to visitors which is enabled to directly access to some gates. The visitor panel allows to print a visitor pass that is normally a piece of paper which could be signed by the visited people in order to have a track of the fact that the visitor really visited the internal employee. And then there is the visit termination that can be performed at the reception desk, or there can be terminals or special kind of terminals where the card is given back and the terminal automatically determines the end of the visit. Then of course you have all the tools to perform queries about the status of the visit. So here you can see this is the panel that is used by a receptionist, and whenever there is a new user, they can enter the name. If they are booked, they can search. Here I entered, we had 2 already booked users, and I will use one of these. For each user, for each visitor, you can enter typical personal data, addresses, documents. Here you can see that you can get up to 4 documents, and of course it's supposed that your workstation has a kind of scanner or image picture in order to get a copy of the documents. If it is a vehicle, you can register the brand, model and plate of the vehicle. So all this data will be kept. Users, once you have done one visit, the data are kept in the database. Then you have to select some of the visitable employees. Let's see. Okay, so we have 2 employees starting with L, which are visitable. And you decide, yeah, of course we should have a card. Actually, we have the problem that we have not defined the cards allowed for visiting, but you would give the card to the visitors, and then you can start the visit. Yeah, I have to select the card, which I don't have any in this moment. I'm sorry for this. However, this is the idea of the visitor reception. Once a visit is started, you have the list of visits in progress, and yes, this is more or less all that you can do. In the analysis panel about visits, you have the same tools for all other kinds of transaction events in order to perform queries about the views that happened. Let me see if we had anything in the last quarter. Any operator, search. Oh, yeah, we have not done any visit. However, this is the tool for managing visits in the system. Go back to the presentation. Yeah, another topic would be about the import and export of users' data and export of transactions. You can imagine that this system can import from third-party applications all users' data, including pictures, card codes, and authorizations. And the import-export operation is, let's say, automatic and can be scheduled every minute. In export, you can export the transaction of users, adding to the exported record any fields of the user's data properties. So what you have seen in the forms which define user properties can also be exported and formatted in the output transaction exported to a third-party application. Okay. So I think that more or less we have covered all these topics. Of course, all of them quite superficial. You can realize that the system requires some days of training spread on a longer period of personal practice. So even if we teach all these topics in a 2-3 days training, then it is difficult that everybody remembers all the features. So what we prefer is just recently is to give a few instruction in short sessions, and then trainees has to try on their own to learn the features, and then with questions and answers it is easier to learn and remember all the features of the system. So in summary, we have these things that we have more or less discussed. The system is fully scalable, so all entities that we have seen are unlimited: users, workstations, operators, gates, terminals. Of course, there are different pricing for each number of entities that you use. The real time of controls on all device users and zone status, zone capacity control, enrollment and distribution on fingerprint templates. I think that the fingerprint distribution that we have implemented is very powerful. I'm not fully aware that there are systems that can work so, let's say, simply from this point of view, with the criteria to distribute the templates. Visitor-oriented features. Semi-automatic mode is something that we have not seen because it is usually associated to the use of cameras. So whenever there is an attempt of accessing a gate, an operator could receive the picture on his station of the user, and he could check if it is the same of the user that is in front of him, or it could be through a camera. Reasons management, this is more about time and attendance. Custom reports, we have seen that the way and the tool that XAtlas has to inspect events and transactions. And there are other things that, of course, you can expect to have. Terminals could be offline and connected to dial-up modems or even GPRS modems. Maps, we had a quick glance, but maps will be covered in another session. Yes, and yeah, again about the camera and DVR integration. HTTP XML interface. For software developers, it is interesting to know that nearly everything that we have seen in the user interface can be managed through web services from third-party applications. So from third-party applications, it's possible to monitor the system and change user rights and receive events and give commands back to the system. Okay, I think it is better that
we have to finish it here because, sorry, we kept longer than planned. Just a final question to you. If you can see on your screen, we would like to ask you which feature of XAtlas do you appreciate most? Talking just of the access control module that we have seen. Could you please reply online while we are here? I think you can see it. Yes, now I think most of you replied, so let's see. Not all of you replied. Can you please vote now? Do your express your preference now, and then we will leave you. I remind you that the presentation that Rico has shown will be put on our partners area, and also the recorded video of each webinar that we will display from now on will be sent to you with a link. So will be available on YouTube. We have a channel on YouTube in order to review it, or for whom could not take part to the webinar live. Okay, so I can see that not all of you replied. Anyway, it seems that the most preferred features are integration with third-party software applications, biometric enrollment and management, and real-time controls. Okay, so we leave you now. We thank you for your attention. Sorry for keeping it a little bit longer. Of course, when there are questions, we like to reply them live. I remind you that the second part of the XAtlas technical webinar will be in September, on the 12th of September, so you will receive the invitation in order to register yourself. Okay, so thank you so much for your participation. Bye-bye.
Thank you to everybody.
Bye-bye now.